Our guests still are Ronak Gopaldas, sovereign analyst at RMB here in our Joburg studios, and Otu Hughes is joining us from our Lagos studios, and he's partner at Iroko Capital in Lagos. A very warm welcome back to you, gentlemen. I want to start in Lagos this time round, and I was asking you, Otu, in the break, that the vice president, who is now acting president of Ghana, John Dramani Mahama, how strong a contender is he to lead the NDC to victory come the elections at the end of the year?
John Dramani Mahama definitely comes in with lots of political experience, and he's been one of the solid NDC political people for a bit. He's been in government for a while, and over the last 3 and change years, he has been one of the more visible vice presidents that Ghana has had. He hasn't been your typical ceremonial vice president, but has been given the opportunity to actually go out on the road and, one, try to drum in business for the country. Secondly, has done lots of work nationally in terms of outreach on behalf of the President Mills, who has not been in the best of health for quite a bit of time. So you've had, in effect, Mahama being fairly involved in this presidency.
Otu,
I think he is going to be a strong candidate. Sorry?
Otu, I have to ask you this, that we do have to talk about the NPP, which is also the main contender in these elections. There was concern that when it came to Mills' presidency, that he was probably losing support in the swing regions of Ghana. So just looking at that, how much of a chance does the NPP have to win the upcoming elections?
I think that what's happened now throws the elections up, right? Because in fact, previously, I think that if I'd asked some people, they would have thought that the economic growth wasn't being seen as being aggressive enough, and people thought the NPP had a fairly decent shot of winning come December. But with the chain of events, the last, call it 24 or so hours, you now have an election which is going to pit a government which can claim to be new versus another government, the NPP, which can claim to want to do things differently. Makes it interesting. I think it makes both parties are going to put up formidable candidates, and it will make it for another tight race come December of this year.
Okay, you wanted to say something on?
Yeah, I think the current developments are interesting, but I do think the momentum was definitely with the NPP even before the developments. I think the Wyoming corruption scandal has badly dented the NDC party. There's talk also of the Rawlings, ex-President Jerry Rawlings and his wife Nana, forming a breakaway party.
But they didn't have that much support. If you look at it, I think it was like 3% at the polls.
But still, there's a groundswell of unpopularity against the NDC, and I think sentiment was turning. This is a wild card for sure, but if I was a betting man, I'd have my money on the NPP.
Really? I mean, even looking at all the other developments that happened under Mills.
I think headline growth is strong and robust, but the sentiment on the ground is that hasn't filtered through to the population at large. And there are a number of challenges ahead in getting and transmitting that wealth to the broader populace.
One of the concerns that you have is the currency. And I mean, just looking at some of the news that is coming out, very recent news, price inflation numbers up to 19.1%, the CD currency losing about 20% against the dollar this year alone. And so that, I would imagine, with now what we have happening on the political front, would have an impact on just Forex coming in, I would imagine.
Yeah. I mean, typically in an election year in Ghana, you see 3 key themes. You see fiscal slippage, you see currency weakness, and you see rising inflation. As you mentioned, the inflation is ticking up. The overall CPI number came in at 9.4% for June, which is close to double digits. The currency is depreciated something like 17% in the first half of this year. So, I mean, these themes are typically playing out. Last week, there was a supplementary budget that was announced in excess of both the government's initial projection as well as the IMF sanctioned 5.2%. They project 6.7% now. So these themes are playing out at the moment and following the election cycle. So it'll be interesting to to see where we go from here.
But going forward, regardless of whether there are policy changes,
Yeah,
it seems as though the IMF seems committed to Ghana in terms of just helping them, other than just the money. I mean, we did get that news, I think it was in 2009, about the IMF giving them a $600 million loan over the next 3 years. But other than just that money, it seems as though the IMF has gone in there and it's actually helped in terms of structures that Ghana needs to be able to follow for them to be successful.
The IMF's ECF program was entered into after the last election, and it definitely yielded a lot of fruits in terms of the overall structural management of the economy. It was meant to lapse in June this year, and subsequently been extended till December, and I think that will reassure foreign investors and donors quite significantly. In what capacity they stay on after the election is the new government's prerogative. But I do think that technical assistance will certainly remain.
I do have to wrap it up in Lagos. Otu, I want to ask you, what are your main concerns, or what are you most hopeful about when you look at Ghana?
I think that the biggest things going on fundamentally is that when you look at the oil sector, more reserves are being discovered, more people are coming into the oil industry. Tullow is doing between 70 and 90 barrels a day. That is going to continue. So when you think of it from a purely GDP perspective, that part of it is going to grow. You have a growing consumer sector, metal markets. So there is the opportunity for that also. The transition here too has shown the maturity and stability of the country, and that begins to add to the overall positive investment climate in the country. So all those things are all positives for the country. It will be interesting to see how the elections pan out in December, because as the other gentleman said, definitely there's a wild card into the process which seemed to be going in one direction, and now it will be interesting to see whether this sudden change of events causes that result to change as well.
Thank you so much for you, gentlemen. I think that's a really good sign of democracy when you don't know which party is going to win. Always a good sign of democracy. Thank you so much for joining us for the discussion. That was Ronak Gopaldas, who's sovereign analyst at RMB here in our Joburg studios. And in Lagos, we were joined by Otu Hughes, who's partner at Iroko Capital in Nigeria.